Guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Hope everyone's well wherever you are. Obviously, this is part 2 of my ideas to potentially benefit Africa and Indigenous Africans and Australasians even. Hope you check out part 1 if you haven't already done so, and look out for part 3. And hopefully people around the world will enjoy this video, not just from Africa or Indigenous Australasian communities, but also generally speaking, as many people as possible hopefully will enjoy it. So anyway, I can't think of much else to say in the intro, so I'm going to crack on with my list. And again, please check out part 1 because this is continuing on from that list. Oh, and also please check out part 3 when it comes out. So here goes. So number 11, I think it'd be great to support people from across Africa, Indigenous Africans and Australasians, to learn to become inventors, investors, entrepreneurs, and to learn about banking and things like that, and support banks and businesses across Africa, and to encourage banks and others to invest in Africa as much as possible, to give stationery and tech equipment, training equipment and things like that to as many Indigenous people from Africa and Australasia as possible, and like support them to be empowered in areas like STEM, science, tech, engineering and maths. So I think it'd be great to encourage the Australian Torres and Strait Pacific Island and New Zealand governments to empower their Indigenous communities through STEM, as well as obviously people from Africa as well, networking together, and like also changing perceptions of Africa, like to a more positive perception rather than seeing the negative. So like sometimes perhaps, and maybe I'm guilty of this, like looking at Africa as a place that needs help rather than a place which has a lot of resources and a lot of things to offer itself and the rest of the world. I think it'd be great to change that perception so that it's seen more positive, so we don't see Africa as a place, or Indigenous Africans as a place where, we don't see African countries as places where there's always poverty or whatever, but we see like more positive things, like they say the Africa they don't show you on TV and things like that, like Wode Maya's channel, and other African YouTubers, I think, portraying a more positive view of Africa and like talking about investment and trade rather than just aid, and rather than Africans being seen as hopeless, but rather than that and Indigenous Africans and Australasians being seen as people who can achieve a lot of great things. So changing perceptions and supporting inventors and making positive changes, and showing that they can become inventors, investors, entrepreneurs, ideas people and things like that, and that they have a lot of resources and resourcefulness. And I think if they work together, like I mentioned in part 1, I think they can achieve a lot. On that note, number 12, I think it'd be great if they had mentors, role models, teachers, trainers, and people who volunteered in Africa maybe in the future, or shared ideas, and the global Black diaspora around the world helped people across Africa and Australasia, and like taught them, like the more successful people from the Black diaspora helped Africans and Indigenous Africans and Australasians, and encouraged them to achieve their full potential, and showing what they can do, and like having positive mentors and role models, teachers, trainers, and that sort of thing, as I say. And I think if they work together and support, encourage, and uplift each other, they'll do a lot better in the future, hopefully. Number 13, I know there are still a lot of negatives to address, but I hope that they will address some of those challenges. Number 14, on that note, I hope they'll they'll see challenges and problems as opportunities, as like problems to be solved. So they'll see those challenges as opportunities to improve themselves and their lives. And again, hopefully African governments, as I mentioned in part 1, will help their people to have human rights and to work on solving their problems, and giving each possible person, especially young people, like PCs, access to PCs, mobile phones, technology, training, laptops and things like that, so they can learn about technology and STEM, give them science equipment and things like that, which will help them in the future to get those key skills that they need to develop their economies and hopefully improve their way of life as well, or their living standards. Number 15, I think it'd be great to support them with their aspirations and listen to people from Indigenous Africans and Australasians, to listen to their aspirations, things they hope to achieve, and look at ways to help them to achieve those goals. Again, working together, and I think teamwork makes the dream work. And I think if 1 billion or so people, which is roughly the population of the whole of Africa, work together and support each other in areas like technology, they could achieve some great things and make some great programs, some great software and things like programming languages, coding and games and all sorts of things. I think it'd be great to see Indigenous Africans and Australasians in technology, especially making like games, video games and PC games and things like that, even like websites where they make their own games, and like where they work together on those games and collaborate and agree to disagree on some areas, but also work together on other areas, where they can come together to make some great programs, I say, and things like that. Number 16, I hope to discuss, have a committee or think tank which looks at the best ways to help Indigenous people from Africa and Australasia, and what would help them overall, or the best ways to help them, basically, especially financially, but also having a great standard of life. As I say, money is not everything, so in other areas as well, perhaps. Number 17, I think, again, it'd be great to look at the talents and skills that Indigenous people from Africa and Australasia have, what skills they possess, and how to help them to utilize those strengths, again, in terms of things like making video games or making their own website with games on, and all sorts of great things that they could create and invent, things like that. Number 18, again, I think it'd be great to hear positive news stories about Africa, as I said in point number 11, sorry. It'd be great to hear positive news stories about people who work together towards peace, cross cooperation, how people can cooperate together and work together on shared goals, and that sort of thing. So yeah, again, positive news stories from Africa. I think it'd be great to hear as many of those as possible, and I hope people will post in the comment section any positive news stories or links or anything like that which they think could help to promote a more positive view of Africa as a continent, or Indigenous Africans and Australasians, and that sort of thing. And in the past, I actually visited an Indigenous Australasian or Aborigine centre in Australia. So I hope in the future people will be able to travel and visit places like that, all being well. Number 19, again, I think it'd be great if they were supported in areas like STEM, creating their own programming and coding languages and all sorts of things. And I think, again, approximately a billion people working together, making peace with each other, not fighting each other, I think would go a long way to achieve some great things. And number 20, I think older generations should encourage the younger people and uplift them and teach them all the skills they know, and all the things they know. And as ever, I'd love to hear what you think, and I am out. Peace and love.